Hello, Limit Breakers. It's a late one tonight. Thought been in meetings all day, so I thought this is the time I've got a bit of time to wind down, a bit of time to replan and reassess my thoughts and see what's going on. So the discussion that I've had was inner leadership. And what is what is inner leadership and why is it important? Now, inner leadership is all about owning your responsibilities, owning your behaviors, owning your beliefs, owning who you are as an individual. Now, inner leadership is something that you go within, you dive deep. Now, this is a bit of a rabbit hole, depending how deep you want to dive. But this is where you start with yourself, you start with your responsibilities, you start taking ownership of all the good and all the bad, whether it is your fault or not, that happens in your life. It's being able to accept and be okay with everything that you've been dealt with, regardless of whose fault it is, regardless of whose fault it is. It's taking responsibility for the good, bad, and ugly, and the pretty that comes into your life. Whether you made it happen or not, whether it's caused by someone else, it doesn't matter. Take ownership of it. That is part of inner leadership. It is an approach of looking at areas of your life with different processes, different perspective, different exercises, and really support yourself and support your journey that you're going through. Now, some people say inner leadership is the peace of mind. Sometimes it's being present is part of inner leadership, which I agree. It is doing what's true to yourself and doing what's right for you. That, for me, is inner leadership. Knowing what you value, knowing what's important to you, and knowing whether it's true to you. And what's true to you may not be true for someone else, right? Some of your friends may be true to go, climb the corporate ladder. That might be true for some, might not be true for others. Some of my friends love to climbing the corporate ladder, and that's fine with them, right? That's fine with me. I respect their decision if that's what they want, and that's what they're happy with. Climbing the corporate ladder wasn't true for me. And so therefore I didn't climb, or at least I stopped climbing the corporate ladder. So what's true for you and what's true to others is going to be different. And you just got to accept and know what's right for you and what's not, right? So doing what's right for you and doing what you need to do because of you and for you and right for you as well. That's part of inner leadership. I mean, there's so much, it's such a broad topic. You can dive deep into this. But what I've noticed is a lot of people start playing the blame game. They start pointing fingers. That's gone wrong because of him. That's gone wrong because of her. And what real inner leadership looks like is taking responsibility for everything that's happened and developing that resilient mindset to really look at what's true and having that open perspective as well. I saw this quote which was, there was two sides of the story: your story, their story, and three sides of the story: your story, their story, and then the truth. Right. So in every story, there's three parts of it. There's their story, your story, and the truth. Right. What's the universal truth in that story? And this happens in arguments and conflicts a lot, right? That problem, you got one person saying it's their problem, the other person saying it's their problem, or the other person's problem, and then you got the universal truth, which no one talks about. So there's always three sides to the story: your story, their story, and the true story. What's really going on, right? The stuff that no one wants to talk about. And I got some notes here, so that's why I'm looking at this side and not the camera. So just bear with me. I want to make sure I'm staying on point as well. So the inner strength to really see how you see yourselves is another thing, right? Do you accept yourself fully? Do you embrace who you are fully? Do you embrace the negatives and all the good, the bad, the ugly, the shadow side of yourself? That's another part that most people deny, is their self-sabotaging behaviors, their negative emotions, or at least self-sabotaging emotions or behaviors that they do. Things like drinking their sorrows, and constantly stressing out or self-inflicting self-harm, like smoking, damaging your body, your health, your fitness, your stamina. I don't believe cigarettes is the answer to anything, but a lot of people use it. It's part of their routine. It's part of who they are. It's part of their habits, right? It's not good, bad, and ugly. I simply don't do it because I don't feel it's beneficial to my life. And I don't feel it contributes positively to my behaviors and who I am and what I do. So therefore, if it doesn't benefit me, I don't have it. So knowing what's good for you and what you do for yourself, stepping into your ownership or responsibilities, how you see yourself, how you value yourself, and how you appreciate yourself, right? Big leadership, all of this part of inner leadership. This goes big, deep dive, but I'm just surface talking about this issue that I see about people's inner leadership is not be willing to take responsibility is a big one. And most changes that happen, or at least positive changes, can only happen from inside out, right? Unless you're willing to change from the inside in your mind, that you made a choice, until you've made a conscious decision to change or to make a positive impact in your life or to make a change in your life. It starts with you. It starts with your thoughts. It starts with your feelings. It starts with you from within. Until you align all three of them within yourself, you're not going to make any changes. Even if you said, oh yeah, I'm going to quit smoking, servicely saying quit smoking, but you haven't made a conscious decision to do so, you're less committed to do it. And if you don't have a strong enough reason why you should be doing it, you're less likely to follow through with it. And that's why most people bounce back out. They're like, oh, and also your peer group, right? Surrounding yourself with the people that constantly in that habit, you become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself. I don't know how true that is, but you do pick up behaviors, I believe. For instance, growing up, at least 5 to 10 people that I surrounded myself with, none of them smoked. None of them had those habits. So therefore, smoking was never a habit that I picked up. Social smoking, I did during drinking, clubbing, and stuff like that, just to be in the crowd, just to fit in, just to be around in that circle. I did things like that before, so I'm not saying it's good or bad, but that's why I did it, and I did it because of that. But I never smoked anything outside of that time unless I was out with certain people, which was weird. So that was a weird behavior. Only when I was drinking and I was smoking and I hang around with the people that did do those activities. It was like a fitting in thing, I suppose. But it was always like spending time with them outside, and you get to have those conversations you don't have normally in that environment. Strangely enough. So yeah. Anyway, so inner leadership, it starts from within, taking ownership, conscious behavior, conscious mind, conscious choice, most importantly. And once you align those, that's when change happens. But most people would not follow through with changing the behaviors because of one factor missing. And I see this time and time again, which is why I believe inner leadership is so important. And it starts with you. And one of my sales mentors say this is, people only buy from people who's got their shit together, which I believe is true. Unless you or the person that you're working with has got at least that area sorted, or at least got it together in that area, in that respect, that you would choose to work with them. So if they're very organized in their health, their fitness, very disciplined, their workout, their body, nutrition is on point, then you're more likely to work with them with health and fitness because they really look after that. But you wouldn't probably look at their relationship life. It's probably all over the place. Then you probably wouldn't ask them for relationship advice, but you're happily to ask them about health advice. Same with people with business or finance, right? If they got all their finance stuff, investments and pensions and stock and all that all in place, structured and organized, you're more likely to work with them on finance. Accountants, right? They're normally all organized in their accounting area. But then, their health and fitness may not be on point, right? They might be eating junk food. They may not be fit. They may not be healthy. They may not be, one of the fittest looking people you look at. So you don't ask them for a fitness advice. It's just one of those, right? But if you look at people with, I think I gave enough examples anyway. So yeah, I'm very conscious about working with people in fitness if they're not somewhere not in that area, or at least know what they're talking about anyway. So knowing your expertise, that's important. So with the inner leadership, it is you're all thought leaders. You're all leaders of your own life. Whether you're a parent, whether you're a friend, whether you're a partner, whether you're a daughter, or son, within your work of people or circle, you're all a leader. Whether you choose to lead is another question, right? Sometimes not everyone wants to lead, and it's a choice. You don't have to lead. But if you're showing up by example, you want to be a good example, then you've got to be the example. And I've always gone with this. If you want to see change, be the change. You want to see the change in others, be the change you want to see in others. If you want to have better quality relationships, you've got to deal with you've got to build and have quality relationships. You want other people to see you as an example, be the example. And I lead with this all the time. If I don't ask any of my mentees or any of my clients to do things that I'm not willing to do, if I tell them to go on Facebook Live or to do videos or to do video marketing and do all that, I've got to do it myself, right? I've got to show up on video. I've got to do video marketing. I've got to do social media posts. I've got to be there for my clients. I've got to show up on lives like this, right? I will never ask my clients to do things that I never do. And if I do, then I'll have to probably ask them to work with someone else that I know or recommend in that field or area, at least. For instance, if someone goes, they need better copywriting, I will not do copywriting with them because that's not my area, my expertise. I'd happily to refer them to someone else, to an expert that I work with and someone that I trust, right? And so when someone goes, they need copywriting done, that's not me. I recommend them elsewhere. Now, what else is better with inner leadership is the ability to have that self-awareness, to be able to control and manage your inner thoughts, your emotions that's going on, and how you can strengthen the decision-making process. And also building on that emotional well-being of yourself. Now, you've got to be aware of how you sabotage yourself, how you sabotage yourself with what emotions come up, whether you're angry, anxious, frustrated, sad, depressed. You know, what type of emotions is the strongest for you? For me, it's anxiety and anger, right? If I was to self-sabotage myself, anger and frustration shows up most. Anxiety comes up about second or third in my body. And then obviously it goes towards being sad and depressed in that order. That's just how my thoughts and feelings work. Everyone's different. Some people will go to depression, then frustration, then anxiety, and whatever, right? Everyone's got different orders. For me, I know my order, my pattern, or at least I know I'm part aware of my pattern that shows up anyway emotionally, and also behavior as well. What type of behavior I do when I'm avoiding work or avoiding stress or pressure or tension. I tend to hide away. I'm quiet. I distract myself and multitask a lot. So that's when I know I'm quite all over the place or not focused. So I quite feel anxious and then frustrated that I'm not getting things done because I'm multitasking. Obvious, right? Now, that is why having inner leadership is important. That is why it's important to know your thoughts and feelings, your good and bad, your emotions, and how you sabotage yourself. And it's important to take ownership of those. And I'm not saying it's an overnight thing. It definitely wasn't for me. You've got to put the work in. You've got to study yourself. You've got to be aware of yourself. You've got to understand yourself. And until you understand yourself, you can't be yourself. There's that dilemma, right? You've got to do one before you have the other. But that's just part of the process. And there's so many people that goes, I want to be this, I want to be that, but they haven't sorted themselves out to be that person, right? If you want to be that person, you've got to put in that behavior of the person. You've got to put in the work to be that person. You've got to lay the foundations to be that person. You've got to put in the framework and structure to support yourself to be the person you want to be. And that's where I think a lot of people would mistake when Tony Robbins says, model the success, or at least model the person of success. You model their behaviors, their structure, their routines, and things that you want in your life. If you want to be them, you've got to be like them, right? So you've got to have a framework to support yourself, which I talked about structure. Why structure is so important. Something that supports you, something that keeps you going all the time, something that pulls you out of the funk, a team of peer group, a team of raving mentors or coach that could help you and pull you up when you need it, and having a team of peer group, like I said again, support structure that can pull you up, support you, inspire you, kick your ass when you need it, that kind of thing. So people like in my Facebook group, I can help them be accountable if they ask me. I can show up for them, but at the end of the day, they need to show up for themselves and do the work. If they want to engage in the content that I do, that's great. Then I get more feedback. I can create better content like this. So the part with inner leadership and making the change within. Why is it important? It's important because then when you start impacting yourself, you start inspiring yourself, you start influencing yourself, everything around you changes. The people around you change, the people you surround yourself with change in a positive way. The more you look after yourself, the more other people look after themselves as well. It's just the infectious energy you give off. You become the change, would automatically inspire others around you to be to have that change. And it's similar to me taking care of my health at home. Was what I eat, what I put in my body, nutrition and stuff. My mum started following me with some of the nutrition and the food that I eat. Sometimes she takes some of my lunches for herself, right? Even though she has her own stuff, but the stuff that I make is quite nutritious and something healthy, right? So then she takes mine, which is not a problem, right? So they start implementing, or at least having a bit of change in their lifestyle, which they don't normally. But it starts with you. If you want to see the change in others, be the change you want to see. And that is, for now, part of the what is inner leadership and why is it important, and why you need to start looking into it. If you haven't already, take time for yourself. Take time to understand your emotions, the good, bad, the ugly, the pretty, the shadow, the dark side of things, like self-sabotaging behaviors. When you don't get what you want, you have a pattern and you play out a story, and there's certain actions and behavior that you do in order for you to don't get what you want. And that might sound scary, but it's true and it happens. And so that is why inner leadership is so important. And I'm going to leave it there for today. Keep it nice and short. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your support. And I will see you all in tomorrow's next video. So peace out.